We have been less than an hour from Alcamo for quite some time now.
And somehow it took us this long to make a video here.
Which is quite embarrassing, because we may have completely underestimated this place.
And after spending more time here recently,
we are starting to think Alcamo might be one of Sicily's most overlooked cities.
Especially if you're dreaming about moving to Sicily.
Because this is one of the few places where some of those dream prices people imagine can still be found.
Hi, we're Anya
and Lucas,
and this is our channel
Spark of Sicily.
We share our life and experiences in Sicily unfiltered.
And today we are exploring Alcamo and Alcamo Marina.
A place we should have filmed much sooner.
And one that surprised us far more than we expected.
One thing we definitely did not expect was how modern parts of Alcamo felt.
We came here expecting wine, old buildings and a decent city center.
Instead, we kept running into stylish cafes and restaurants.
The kind of places we usually expect to find in much more touristy towns.
What was interesting though was that Alcamo never really felt touristy.
Most of the people we saw were locals.
And yes, we received the traditional Sicilian inspection stare quite a few times.
Only a few?
Let's say enough to feel welcome.
One thing a friend told us about moving here was that everybody seems to know everybody.
And after spending time there, we can actually see what he meant.
People stop in the street to talk.
They greet each other.
You constantly get the feeling that people have known each other for years.
Which is quite funny because Alcamo isn't exactly a tiny village.
Yet somehow it is still that small town feeling.
We also ended up visiting both the castle and the Contemporary Art Museum.
And surprisingly,
both were free.
Which felt like a very welcome change after paying the 10 or even 15 euro entrance fees all over Sicily.
One thing that immediately caught our attention was the name of the castle.
The castle of the Counts of Modica.
And naturally, our minds immediately traveled to Modica.
The famous chocolate.
And Lucas's favorite city on the other coast.
The connection here, however, has much less to do with chocolate and much more to do with a noble family.
The Counts of Modica were one of the most powerful noble families in Sicily.
And Alcamo was one of the territories they controlled.
Large parts of the castle you see today date back to the 14th century.
Inside, we actually found quite a bit about the history of winemaking in the area.
Which felt very fitting considering how closely Alcamo is connected to winemaking even today.
There was also a room dedicated to the traditional Sicilian puppets.
The famous Opera dei Puppi.
And it was a nice reminder of just how rich and different Sicilian traditions actually are.
Everything about Alcamo makes me want to have wine.
One thing that kept appearing everywhere we looked though.
Wine.
And for a good reason.
Alcamo has been one of Sicily's wine centers for generations.
The famous Alcamo Dock wine was actually one of Sicily's earliest wines to receive a protected status.
And even today, the surrounding countryside is covered with vineyards.
So if you're enjoying wine tourism, this area should definitely be on your radar.
Even if you are not particularly interested in wine.
Trust us, Alcamo will make sure you notice it anyway.
One thing we kept noticing as we walked around was the architecture.
Every now and then we would spot little reminders of southeast Sicily.
The balconies,
the churches,
decorative facades.
Now, we're not saying Alcamo is the next Modica or Ragusa.
Those cities take Baroque architecture to a completely different level.
But every now and then you catch a glimpse of it here as well.
Just enough to make us stop and look twice.
And honestly, Alcamo reminded us of something else as well.
When people first start looking at Sicily, they usually focus on the famous places.
Taormina,
Cefalu,
Ortigia.
And don't get us wrong, they are famous for a reason.
But some of the most interesting places we end up showing our clients are towns they have never even heard before.
Places like Alcamo.
Places that are still genuinely Sicilian, close to the sea, and often far more accessible than the locations everybody talks about online.
And that's exactly why we always encourage people to explore beyond the obvious choices.
If you'd like help figuring out which part of Sicily might actually suit your lifestyle and budget, you'll find more information about our consultations in the description and in our bio.
I mean, this is the situation of driving and parking in Alcamo. Are you brave enough to try it out? I think that it's worth it, but we rather park kind of outside.
Now, as we promised to tell you the truth,
driving here was a nightmare.
For some reason, we found Alcamo surprisingly difficult to navigate.
The narrow streets,
the one-way systems,
the sharp corners.
And finding parking wasn't always easy either.
At times it felt a bit like Palermo.
Thankfully, Alcamo becomes much easier to enjoy once you have parked the car. Of course, there is one part of Alcamo we could not leave out.
Alcamo Marina.
As you can see, some of these houses are about as coastal as it gets.
This is probably what many people imagine when they think about a summer house in Sicily.
And one thing we have noticed though is how different it feels depending on the season.
In winter it is incredibly quiet.
Many of the holiday homes close up,
The beach is completely empty.
and the whole area in general seems closed down.
Summer though, beach paradise.
So, was Alcamo the hidden gem we were looking for?
Honestly, it might be.
We kept postponing Alcamo because there always seemed to be something more interesting to film.
Turns out Alcamo was the interesting thing all along.
And if Sicily is becoming more than just a trip for you,
We help people navigate the relocation process and understand what daily life in different parts of Sicily is actually like.
you'll find more information about our consultations in the description and in our bio.
Thank you for watching.
If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. It genuinely helps us more than you might think.
We post new videos from Sicily every Thursday.
See you in the next one. Ciao!